Hello and welcome to Hanovi Global Network. I am your host, John Hanovi. And if you didn't believe when I told you that the mainstream media mob is actually a part of the Democrat propagandist machine, well, I hope the events of the last week has set you straight and has finally convinced you. Now, Ronna McDaniel, former RNC chairwoman, was hired by NBC in order to put a little different perspective than the propaganda that was being spewed. But boy, oh boy, they didn't anticipate the revolt that they would have gotten, because no other alternative is accepted at NBC. Keep in mind that these are the people that tell you that they love democracy and they like varying opinions. But there are a bunch of liars, downright liars. These are the people that tell you that they are all against tyranny. But in truth, it's just a mask, because these are the most tyrannical individuals on the planet. And the reason they do what they do is not an accident. They want to make sure that the only perspective you get is their perspective. They are basically political hacks. And they want to make sure that the only propaganda that is spewed is the propaganda of the Democrat Party. So you have to ask yourself, what are they so afraid of? Why are they so resistant to any other perspective or reasonable debate? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they know that if there is reasonable debate and there is scrutiny, real scrutiny of their ideas and what they say, and that someone holds them accountable for what they say, they know that it would not stand. So they are morbidly terrified that someone is going to come along and challenge the prevailing narrative. Boy, oh boy, and they can't have that. And that's the reason why you saw such a virulent assault on Ronna McDaniel. You would have thought that they would have been happy to have Ronna McDaniel on board so they could challenge her and take her to task for her opinions. But the problem is, they are not intellectually able to. Most of what they say is not based on reason or logic. It's based on emotional appeal. It's a bunch of mumbo jumbo emotional garbage. What is sad is not that there was a virulent attack on Ronna McDaniel, but that the owners of NBC did not have enough cojones and cave to these media political insurrectionists. In some respects, I'm not mad, and certain things have been made apparent. Now, it's kind of strange, and I don't know if you remember, when Vivek asked Ronna McDaniel, why would you hire NBC for the primary debate? So was it a payback? Was NBC rewarding Ronna McDaniel for the favor?
Look, let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation, because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. So I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this.
Boy, oh boy, these guys are true radicals. Imagine your boss owes you an apology for hiring someone that they believe will enhance democracy and varying opinions.
Why they would hire someone like Ronna McDaniel?
Sure. Well, for one, this is a 5-alarm fire for NBC News. This is a complete disaster, the blowback they're getting. I don't think they anticipated this much blowback where on Sunday they'd be dealing with this. But look, when they hired her, they said basically that they wanted to represent the other side, that she was an important voice and that, Trump Republicans should be represented on the network. Now, of course, there's a lot of holes in that argument, and it really rubbed people the wrong way inside NBC News as well and inside MSNBC, because Ronna McDaniel is not any normal Republican, right?
So Ronna McDaniel is no normal Republican. Oh, wait, she's a Republican that is willing to question or challenge everything. What we need is the sheepish type, those that act like rhinos, and those who are pretty much like Benedict Arnolds to the Republican Party, the type that would jump on board with Democrats to go after Republicans.
Leave NBC News should seek out conservative Republican voices to provide balance in their election coverage.
Don't lie to yourself, Mika. No, you don't. You know you don't want any opposition. You guys are not intellectually bright, and none of what you say would ever stand up to any minimal scrutiny.
Hope NBC will reconsider its decision.
Continuing to say since 2020 that election wasn't right.
Megyn Kelly did a hell of a job showing these people's hypocrisy.
In the news this morning, NBC takes one of its new conservative hires and tries to ruin her with an internal pile-on from sanctimonious anchors trying to act like they are deeply offended by her, all while hoping no one digs too deeply into their own terrible past. Ronna McDaniel, the former head of the RNC and a newly minted NBC News contributor, is probably going to get fired today, less than 1 week after she was hired by the network. Why? Because the children over at MSNBC are very, very mad. And I mean really mad.
I want to associate myself with all my colleagues, both at MSNBC and at NBC News, who have voiced loud and principled objections.
We weren't asked our opinion of the hiring, but if we were, we would have strongly objected to it.
When NBC made the decision to give her NBC News' credibility, you got to ask yourself, what does she bring NBC News?
Not about that. No. We welcome Republican voice. I wish more Republicans. I want Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney to get right here and come talk to me.
Trust the sister to be so candid. Joy Reid tells you exactly the type of Republican that they want on board. Yeah, that type, the type that would team up with Democrats to help investigate Republicans. And here it comes, the emotionally charged words with extensive exaggeration. Oh, we got to protect democracy. Yeah, democracy. Yeah, we got to protect democracy by being very undemocratic.
And our democracy is in danger because of the lies that people like Ronna McDaniel have pushed on this country.
Take a minute. Acknowledge that maybe it wasn't the right call. It is a sign of strength, not weakness, to acknowledge when you were wrong. It is a sign of strength. And our country needs us to be strong right now.
Boy, these people are good at emotionalizing. But you people allow them to succeed because you fall. You fall for this emotional nonsense. This sounds like something out of an AA meeting. Oh, don't worry. You can get over drinking. Just stay with me. I'll teach you how to get over drinking.
Oh my God.
OMG, indeed. And these are the people? These are the people that you let convince you? These are the people that you let manipulate you? My goodness.
They don't vote based on economics. They're voting on race.
Russia, Moscow.
They must be protected, you see, from liars. After all, over at MSNBC, they are in the business of honesty.
Do you guys remember this? All the devious propaganda around COVID? Do you remember? I hope you haven't forgotten.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. Think about it. I don't know how some of you sleep at night.
Republican voters don't vote that way. They don't vote based on economics. They're voting on race.
Russia, 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 Moscow, Russia, Putin, Russia.
And here is Joy Reid with a straight face deceiving you about the whole bloodbath comment about the auto industry made by Donald Trump. Here she is.
He is actually being prosecuted at the state level and at the federal level for fomenting an actual insurrection that caused a lot of blood.
So after all the virulent assault on Ronna McDaniel and upheavals and revolt against democracy, guess what? NBC, in cowardice, caved in.
NBC News has cut ties with former RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel less than 1 week after hiring her as an analyst. And after hosts spent days demanding she get the axe, now those hosts are celebrating.
I just have to say, when somebody does the right thing, I feel like it should be acknowledged as publicly as we acknowledged our outrage. And so I know how I feel about it. I am grateful to Caesar for actually making the right decision. I think it was the right decision.
I'm grateful that our leadership was willing to do the bold, strong, resilient thing.
I really appreciate working at a place that was able to say, we got this one wrong, and then made the right decision.
Our company listened to us, to you, and did what was right.
The bottom line is this. This is not even precedence anymore. So I can't say, oh, they're setting a really bad precedence. This has become a trend of caving in to some of the most undemocratic people on the planet. It is dangerous when people who masquerade as proponents of democracy and deep down are the exact opposite. Like ravenous wolves in sheep clothing, because that is exactly what they are. These people care nothing about democracy. They are actually saboteurs of democracy. And today it seems that the saboteurs of democracy have won. And boy, oh boy, it's a sad day for American television and journalism. Richard Nixon warned us about a day like today. So now is the time. As Ronald Reagan said, now is the time for choosing. Are you going to choose people masquerading as democratic, but deep down inside are some of the most undemocratic people on the planet? Or are you going to choose a man who is a proponent of the First Amendment and a proponent of the Second Amendment and has actually taken steps, concrete steps, to show you that he has created Truth Social, okay? A platform where you can responsibly exercise your First Amendment. So the choice is clear. Choose these propagandists at the media mob and the Democrat overlords, or choose a man who is going to restore, truly restore, the integrity, the respect of America. That man, without a doubt, is Donald J. Trump.